Bantam Doubleday Dell Audio Publishing presents L.A. Requiem by Robert Crais. Uniformed LAPD officer Joe Pike could hear the banda music even with the engine idling, the AC jack to meat locker, and the two-way crackling call-out codes to other units. The covey of Latina street kids clumped outside the arcade giggled at him, whispering things to each other that made them flush. Squat brown men come up through the fence from Zacatecas, milled on the sidewalk, shielding their eyes from the sun as veteranos told them about Sawtell over on the west side, where they could find day labor jobs, $30 cash, no papers required. Here in Rampart Division, south of Sunset, Guatemalans and Nicaraguans simmered with Salvadorans and Mexican nationals in a sidewalk machaca that left the air flavored with epazote, even here within the sour cage of the radio car. Pike watched the street kids part like water when his partner hurried out of the arcade. Abel Wozniak was a thick man with a square head and cloudy slate eyes. Wozniak was 20 years older than Pike and had been on the street 20 years longer. Wozniak was once the best cop that Pike had then met, but now his eyes were strained. Pike regretted that, but there wasn't anything he could do about it. Especially now when they were looking for Ramona Ann Escobar. Wozniak lurched in behind the wheel, adjusting his gun for the seat, anxious to roll even with the tension between them as thick as clotted blood. His informant had come through. DeVille's staying at the Islander Palms Motel. Does DeVille have the girl? My guy eyeballed a little girl, but he can't say if she's still with him. Wozniak snapped the car into gear and rocked away from the curb. They didn't roll Code 3. No lights, no siren. The Islander Palms was less than 5 blocks away. Woz, would DeVille hurt her? I told you, a fucking perv like this would be better off with a bullet in his head. It was 11:40 on a Tuesday morning. At 9:20, a 5-year-old girl named Ramona Ann Escobar had been playing near the paddleboat concession in Echo Park when her mother, a legal immigrant from Guatemala, had turned away to chat with friends. Witnesses last saw Ramona in the company of a man believed to be one Leonard DeVille, a known pedophile who'd been sighted working both Echo and MacArthur Parks for the past 3 months. Pike stared at Wozniak until Wozniak couldn't handle the weight any longer and glanced over. They were 40 seconds away from the Islander Palms. Oh, for Christ's sake, what? It isn't too late, Woz. Wozniak's eyes went back to the street and his face tightened. I'm telling you, Joe, back off with this. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. You've got Paulette and Evelyn to think about. Wozniak's wife and daughter. The cloudy eyes flicked to Pike, as bottomless and as dangerous as a thunderhead. I've been thinking about them, Pike. Now shut the fuck up and play like a cop. The Islander Palms was a white stucco dump, 2 stories of frayed carpets, stained beds, and neon palms that looked tacky even in Los Angeles. Pike followed Wozniak into the manager's office, a skinny Hindu with watery eyes. I do not want trouble, please. Wozniak said, We're looking for a man with a little girl. His name is Leonard DeVille, but he might have used another name. The Hindu didn't know the name or about a little girl, but he told them that a man matching the description Woz provided could be found on the 2nd floor in the 3rd room from the end. They found the door, listened, but heard nothing. Wozniak took the knob side of the door, Pike the hinges. Wozniak rapped on the door, identifying himself as a Los Angeles police officer. When DeVille opened the door, they pushed him backward, Wozniak going first and pushing hard. DeVille said, Hey, what is this? The room was tattered and cheesy, with a closet and bath off the rear. Wozniak held DeVille as Pike cleared the bathroom and the closet looking for Ramona. She's not here. Wozniak, who had busted DeVille twice in the past, said, Where is she, Lenny? Who? Hey, I don't do that anymore. Come on, officer. Where's the camera? DeVille spread his hands, flashing a nervous smile. I got no camera. I'm telling you, I'm off that. Leonard DeVille was 5'8", with a fleshy body, dyed blonde hair, and skin like a pineapple. The hair was slicked straight back and held with a rubber band. Pike knew that DeVille was lying, but waited to see how Woz would play it. Wozniak hooked a hand under the foot of the double bed and heaved the bed over. DeVille jumped back and stumbled into Pike, who caught and held him. A rumpled-over night bag was nesting in about 1,000,000 dust bunnies where the bed had been. Wozniak said,
"Lenny, you are about as dumb as they get." "Hey, that ain't mine. I got nothing to do with that bag."
Wozniak opened the bag and dumped out a Polaroid camera, better than a dozen film packs, and at least 100 pictures of children in various stages of undress. Pike squeezed DeVille's arm. "Where's the little girl? Where's Ramona Escobar?" DeVille's voice went higher.
"That stuff isn't mine. I never saw it before."
Wozniak squatted, fingering through the pictures without expression. He lifted one and examined it. "She looks about 5. She matches the physical description they gave us. Pretty little girl. Innocent. Now she's not innocent anymore." Abel Wozniak stood and drew his gun. It was the new Beretta 9mm that LAPD had just mandated. Joe said, "Woz, we've got to call in. Put your gun away." Wozniak stepped past Pike and snapped the Beretta backhand, slamming DeVille in the side of the head and dropping him like a bag of garbage. Pike jumped between them, grabbing Wozniak by the arms and pushing him back. That doesn't help get the girl. As soon as the upstairs door closed, Farid Aboudi, the manager, crept up the stairs. The shouting started when he was near the top. He couldn't understand what was being said, only that the words were angry. He eased along the second-floor balcony trying to get closer, but just as he reached the room, the shouting stopped. He cursed the fates, thinking he'd missed all the fun, when suddenly there was a single loud shout from inside, then a thunderous, deafening explosion. Farid's heart pounded, but he heard nothing further. All his swirling fears demanded that he race back to his office and pretend to have heard nothing, but instead he threw open the door. The younger officer, the tall one with the dark glasses and the empty face, spun toward him and aimed an enormous revolver. Farid thought in that instant that he would surely die. "Please, no!" The older officer was without a face, his remains covered in blood. The blond man looked dead, too, his face a mask of crimson. The floor and walls and ceiling were sprayed red. "Please!" The tall officer dropped to his fallen partner and began CPR. Without looking up, the tall officer said, "Call 911. Farid Aboudi ran for the phone. That Sunday, the sun floated bright and hot over the Los Angeles basin. The Verdugo Mountains above Glendale were burning. A column of brown smoke rose off the ridgeline there, where it was caught by the Santa Anas and spread south across the city, painting the sky with the color of dried blood. We couldn't see the smoke column from Lucy Chenier's second-floor apartment in Beverly Hills, but the sky had an orange tint that made Lucy stop in her door long enough to frown. We were bringing cardboard moving boxes up from her car. "Is that the fire?" "The Santa Anas are bringing the smoke south. A couple of hours, the ash will begin to fall. It'll look like gray snow." Elvis Cole, professional Angelino, educating the recent transplant, who also happens to be his girlfriend. Lucy didn't seem convinced, but then she stepped inside and called her son. "Ben!" Less than a week before, Lucille Chenier and her 9-year-old son had left Louisiana and settled into the apartment that they had taken in Beverly Hills just south of Wilshire Boulevard. Lucy had been a practicing attorney in Baton Rouge, but was beginning a new career as a legal analyst for a local television station. Trading Baton Rouge for Los Angeles, she gained a larger salary, more free time to spend with her son, and closer proximity to moi. She handed Ben the box she was carrying. "Your room, your closet, neatly." When he was gone, I lowered my own burden and whispered, "Your room, your bed, messy." She considered the couch. "But first we have to get this house in order. Would you please move the couch again?" I stared at the couch. I had moved it maybe 800 times in the last 2 days. "Which wall?" She chewed at her thumb, thinking, "Over there." Just in time the phone rang. Lucy answered, spoke for a minute, then held it out. "Joe." Joe Pike and I are partners in the detective agency that bears my name. He could have his name on it if he wanted, but he doesn't. He's like that. I took the phone. "Hernias are us." Pike said, "How's the move going?" I walked the phone out onto the balcony. "It's a big change. I think she's finally realizing how big. What's up?" "You heard of Frank Garcia?" the tortilla guy.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?